What is good, y'all? In this video, we'll be talking about charts. And like I mentioned before, it could be intimidating looking at something like this, but we're going to go ahead and break it down and make it something more simpler and easier throughout the series. First, let's go ahead and take away all these fucking drawings, all these squiggly lines, and let's just leave the base. What's the base? Which is right now the candles. Each of these candles represents a day because I said to that. We can look at the hourly, but like I mentioned in the previous video, where I'm mainly going to be focused on big picture type deals. So I'm going to be looking at the daily, the weekly, sometimes the 4 hour, sometimes the smaller time frames, but right now I'm going to set this to the day. So this is the S&P 500, the SPY, general market, however you want to call it. And there's different ways to look at a chart like this. You know, there's line chart, which most people have on like their Webull, the Robinhood or whatever. This is what you see. You see a line chart. And right now, the line chart is at 432.17 cents. So this is where the price is currently at. This is a good way to be able to visually see what you have. The only problem is though is that it doesn't provide that much information for you. You can look at something like a bar chart. In my opinion, this is a little tacky. The way it looks, it's a little hard to read. My perspective, it does provide more information than a line chart, but it is hard to read. The sweet spot for me is the candlesticks. Each of these candlesticks represents a specific set of time. Like I mentioned before, you have the day. Right now they're representing the day. Each of these is a day, and there's an anatomy to these, just like there's an anatomy to a human. So if we zoom in, look at this big ass fucking candle right here. Actually, let me go ahead and mark these off now that I think about it. So for the high of the day, we'll mark off with the white line. The low of the day, we'll also mark off with the white line. So these little wicks, or these little lines that come off of these bodies of these candles, are basically the highs and the lows of the day. If it's on top, it represents the high of the day. If it's on the low, on the bottom, it represents the low of the day. Whatever the bottom of that wick reached. So for this specific day, it reached the highest point of $440.48. And on the bottom line, it represents $420.80. So throughout this day, it moved a total of basically $20 throughout the whole day, which is a crazy amount, honestly, for the SPY. It's usually never that volatile, but it's pretty cool. All right. So what makes the body the body? As I mentioned previously in the first series, there's a specific time frame in which you could trade in the market. They call it general market hours. Is from 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time all the way up until 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So when it opens, which by green candles on the bottom, let's go ahead and make this, let's say green, since green is go. So at 8:30, it opened at this price, and it's marked at the bottom of the body for a green candle. And then at 3 p.m., this is where the candle finished off at, and I'll mark it off with the red line. So throughout this whole day, it reached the bottom of 420, high of 440. It opened at 8:30 at $432.10, and at the end of the day, it closed at $439.87. And it's green because it's a bullish candle. It had a $7 gain on the day. It went up. If it would have went the opposite way, let's say a red candle, let's take this smaller one for example. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. We'll do the same thing. We'll mark the open. Stupid ass. We'll mark the high of the day, which again is we're going to do in white. The bottom of the day, which is also in white. So throughout the day, it reached the highest point of $480 all the way down to $475.50. And if we mark off the open, in this case, since it's red, the open was on top. At the end of the day, it closed below the open. So it was bearish. You were down on the day if you would have bought a share at open and sold it at close. So if we mark the top, a little bit higher. Go ahead and make this green, because remember, like we said, green good means go, and red means stop. So we'll mark the bottom, the red. Again, throughout the day, the bottom was level that it reached throughout the day was $475.50. The highest was basically $480. The open was $479.23, and throughout the day, it had fluctuations, but it ended up closing at 3 o'clock p.m. at $477.48. So if you would have bought it the open day and sold it the bottom of the day, the end of the day, you would have lost basically $2 throughout this time period. That's why those are red. So again, bullish candles are green, bearish candles are red. If you're green, your close is above your open, and if you're red, your close is below your open. Sorry, it's little. I had to think about it a little bit before I started making hand gestures. But that's basically how you read a chart, and that's how we read candlesticks. We're going to get a little bit more into that in a little bit. Next thing we're going to talk about is trends.